Now let's turn things over to meteorologist Lisette Gonzalez. It's the top of the hour, so of course we want to get you the very latest on Hurricane Irma. Lisette.
All right, Lauren and Eugene, good morning to you and good morning, South Florida. But many of you may already have been awake for many hours or maybe not even slept through the night, as is the case usually, right, when we're anxiously awaiting all these new updates and advisories and any shifts in the models. And that certainly has been the case with a very unpredictable but very intense and steady Hurricane Irma. Now, in terms of the 5 a.m. advisory right now, it is still a powerful hurricane. It is Category 4, max sustained winds of 155 miles per hour. And as of 2 a.m., those max sustained winds were 160 miles per hour. So that just gives you an idea. We are now on the high end of a Category 4 and basically on the cusp of Category 5 hurricanes. So really not much of a difference in terms of just how strong Irma continues to be. And it is moving west-northwest at 12 miles per hour. So that is a slight change. We're starting to see that slight turn towards the north, and we are also getting updates in terms of the positions for Irma, but currently it's located about 245 miles southeast of Miami, and we are seeing that storm size, and it is immense and currently just bearing down on the north coast of Cuba and even parts of the Bahamas. As we take a look at the forecast track, it continues to shift a little bit to the west, and unfortunately right now it is looking like it could be making landfall as a Category 4 as we head into tomorrow morning somewhere along the Keys. Now, wouldn't be surprised if Irma possibly even re-strengthened back into a Category 5 since it's already close to that status with the max sustained winds. And also notice it's going to be moving over the very warm waters here just across the straits. So we'll wait and see what happens. But regardless, right now, unfortunately, it is looking like it could be just a devastating and catastrophic situation for the Keys and likely as well for our friends along the southwest coast. There's still some uncertainty as to whether it'll just be offshore here to the west of, for example, Fort Myers, Naples, Marco Island, or whether it will make landfall around some of these areas. But you'll notice that the cone is not as wide. There's a bit of higher confidence in terms of where Irma will go. It's just a matter of when will it make that northerly turn. Now, many of you here in South Florida may be thinking, oh, well, we are now not included in that cone in Broward and Dade County. Don't focus on the cone. We will still feel the same impacts, although maybe not as extreme because we're seeing that the core will likely be to our west, but the impacts in terms of storm surge and flooding and heavy rain and also the risk of tornadoes. And really that's why the hurricane warning continues for pretty much the entire state of Florida, because this is just such a massive hurricane that is headed our way. So as we take a look at the track, it continues to lift Irma northward here. Could be making landfall as a Cat 4 in Tampa as we move into the Monday morning time frame, and then likely weakening to a Category 3. And throughout Monday, heading into the Big Bend and the Panhandle, and also then leading it as a tropical storm into Georgia possibly by Tuesday very early in the morning, and then maybe making a track towards the northwest into Alabama or even Tennessee as finally a depression. It's not until the middle to the end of next week that we see that Irma will be weakening, but not before leaving a path of devastation and likely destruction. So as we take a look at the highest threat for hurricane force winds, that is also shifted along with the cone. It is mostly the west coast of the peninsula and the Keys, and that's why so many are now evacuating, even though most should have evacuated sooner because of the fact that that track shifted as of last night and continues to remain here mainly over the Keys in terms of where the eye could be making landfall, that core where the worst of the weather is expected. We are hoping that many of you heed those warnings and try to get out of the Keys if at all possible, because we are talking about a life-threatening hurricane, and the stories coming out for some of those folks that are leaving the Keys, just heartbreaking. It is so difficult. I can't even imagine leaving your homes, your businesses behind, but right now, really, it is the safest if you can stay out of the Keys. Now, I want to show you the reason why we are going to continue to deal with those impacts. Tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 195 miles. I have to change that. Hurricane force winds winds extend out 70 miles from the center. So as we look at the wind field, this is going to give you an idea of what you can expect, a timeline, if you will. And as you take a look at this timestamp, you're going to see, okay, the yellow area, that is where we're seeing the tropical storm force winds, meaning wind speeds of about 40 miles per hour. And then we have the hurricane force wind gusts in the orange shaded area, and then the hurricane force winds are in that red shaded area. As we head throughout the morning today, we are already seeing some of those tropical storm force winds now beginning to push into the Keys and will be spreading into Miami-Dade and Broward County as we head into the afternoon. Take a look at this orange area and also the red area indicating the hurricane force wind and wind gusts. And likely for the Keys, you will be dealing with these impacts as we head around midnight tonight through 1 in the morning and throughout much of the morning tomorrow. We are still dealing with tropical storm force winds, likely for parts of the mainland South Florida. But then we start to see those hurricane force gusts as we head into early in the morning and around 6 a.m. As we get into that time frame, again, the Keys still getting hammered with those hurricane force winds and the core of Hurricane Irma, as it is expected to make landfall sometime in the morning, possibly around 7, 8, 9 a.m. Now, part of South Florida, Broward, Dade County, dealing with those hurricane force gusts as we get into 11 a.m. and still dealing with the hurricane force winds here across the Keys, even as we head into the afternoon. And as you can see, now it looks like the highest risk for those hurricane force winds will be likely riding up the west coast of the peninsula. And we will still be dealing with tropical storm force winds throughout the day tomorrow and likely through tomorrow night and into Monday morning, because we're going to be dealing with the backside of Hurricane Irma as it continues to move northward across the rest of the state. And that's why the entire state of Florida is getting ready for this monster hurricane. So our biggest threats include destructive winds, a life-threatening storm surge, heavy rain. In fact, the rainfall potential is now increasing because we're going to be on the dirty side of the hurricane, and the risk of tornadoes. So hurricane warnings continue for the central and northwest Bahamas, northern Cuba, as well as much of the southern half of the peninsula here, stretching all the way northward from Key West through Miami-Dade, Broward, and into parts of central Florida here. And then we have hurricane watches in place for the Big Bend and also the northeast coast of Florida, as well as those storm surge warnings and watches in place, especially for the southwest coast of Florida and the Keys, especially vulnerable there. Flood watch in place for us through Monday, as we're going to see the potential for flooding, since we could see anywhere from 12 to 18 inches of rain in some higher amounts, more than 20 inches in spots. And we're seeing those flash flood watches, flood warnings stretching across much of the peninsula. And then a flash flood watch has been issued for Lake Okeechobee. And we have meteorologist Dave Warren to talk more about the local weather and how already we're seeing conditions are deteriorating out there, Dave.
Yeah, the wind's really starting to pick up as these bands move through. And look at our camera here in Key West, wind picking up there, seeing gusts close to 40 miles an hour, and that will really start to increase here throughout the afternoon and evening. Radar, this is a bit of a concern here. Stronger storms moving through the area, wind gusts 50 to 60 miles an hour as these move through. This is an outer band. It's moving through, and this will start to work its way north there. So right now, the location, there's where the turnpike crosses Route 1's Cutler Bay down through Princeton and areas south, getting this very heavy rain. It pretty much stops south of Palmetto Bay, up towards Pinecrest and Kendall, just some light rain. This is a band that will continue to move through, and these areas are pushing north. So the heavy rain will continue. Up north, pretty quiet in Broward County, just a few spotty showers, but this all will be moving through the area. As these move through, the wind picks up. It's sustained, increasing just about 20, 30 miles an hour, really starting to gust over 40. And then this band has a gust of near 50 miles an hour. So the wind continues to increase. We're at the beginning here. Things are going up with that wind speed. It'll be sustained over tropical storm force later today, and then increasing overnight tonight and early tomorrow. So as far as the rain goes, here's the bands coming through, and we want to look at the center of the storm here. This is picked up by the radar. There's Irma moving right along the coast of Cuba, the center remaining over water, unfortunately, in the eye wall, just right over the northern islands there. So not losing much intensity, and it is moving to the west, but beginning to to move to the northwest, just about 215 miles southeast of Miami. So with the radar picking up the center of the storm there, we will start to get updates hourly, and want to see where that is and how it's moving. You can really start to track it each hour and look for that turn to the north, and that'll indicate where it's likely to, if at all, make landfall in the Keys and up the East Coast. But right now, West Coast, we are seeing just bands continuing to move through the area. Now, the latest computer forecast showing that there is this grouping of the models there. They've shifted to the west, and primarily it is along the coast or over towards the Keys. So that is one indication showing that it is inside that forecast cone for the National Hurricane Center. They've shifted that with the latest information coming in. But outside of that forecast cone, you're getting tropical storm force winds, you're getting hurricane force gusts. So this is a huge storm. It's trying to really not just focus on that cone, which is really starting to narrow down and pinpoint the exact location we expect. This is in agreement with the GFS model, the American model, and the European model. So both together, both favoring the Gulf Coast. Now the exact location still yet to be determined. We're waiting for that turn. But outside of that, even as far as the East Coast, we'll see easily tropical storm force winds for an extended period of time. Jose, there's Hurricane Jose, and the track, well, it's not of a concern here. Unfortunately, it goes close to the northern Leeward Islands that just had the forecast track of Irma right overhead. Not expecting to mimic that track exactly, but close enough where we'll see tropical storm force winds from that. The storm moving along the forecast. We put the forecasted track on there, and the actual storm is moving close to that. It might wobble a bit north and south. Certainly doesn't mean the storm is changing directions. It's just a powerful storm. Oftentimes these storms wobble a bit, maybe north or maybe south. But for right now, it's forecast to continue moving west and move toward and then make that turn there to the north. I want to show you what's happening here around Lake Okeechobee. The wind picking up later today, and that could actually work to wash the water back and forth. Army Corps of Engineers are concerned on the south side here. There's a dike under construction, and that could overwash that, and that'll lead to flash flooding scenario to the south. That's why we have a flash flood watch issued there. Flood watch elsewhere because some very heavy rain is expected. Now, this is just a forecast track from one of the computer models, so it may not pinpoint the exact location, maybe seeing that heavy band of precip or rainfall around Miami. Now, it's not exactly there, but it gives you an indication that with the storm tracking to the west, you'll get these feeder bands setting up. And as the storm moves north, the bands could really not move much with it. So they go over the same area, and that's why flash flooding could be a problem here later today. So we'll certainly look at the exact track and where that storm is headed and where these bands set up. Another issue we're having along the coast is the storm surge. The wind really whipping these waves up. It was protected for a while from the Bahamas. We didn't see much in the way of waves. It was all east of the Bahamas and up the east coast. But now, as the storm is between the Bahamas and Cuba, winds picking up and the waves are picking up, and that will actually increase the storm surge. Now, amounts from the National Hurricane Center, they have a new model coming in, and this shows the forecasted amounts. And only about maybe up to 1 foot of storm surge in around Fort Lauderdale and in parts of Broward County. But you start to see a bit more of that bluish color there around Dania Beach, some lower elevations. That'll get some storm surge here ahead of the storm as that wind picks up out of the east. And then we start to see a bit more over towards Surfside and North Miami Beach, and there maybe just to the around parts of Biscayne Bay, seeing some storm surge there and around North Bay Village. And that is the big concern there. Because this wind will pick up and we'll see a bit of a surge. Now, along the Miami River there, you can see a little bit. This is actually updating with new information that comes in and doesn't look nearly as widespread, but still the potential is there. You have to look a little farther south to see the extreme extent of the surge here across Miami-Dade. There's about 3 to 4 feet of surge expected. This is not nearly as high as it was earlier, but we're still expecting that. And again, this is a forecast model that continues to update, so it looks at new information. So that's a little good news here, is not expecting the surge with maybe that storm is a little farther to the west.